So with the escalation now, with the warlike situation in the West Asia region and with the recent strikes that have come in from Israel, a lot clearly is developing in that area. Remember, Israel has been fighting a multi-front war already, Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah, and now it's in direct confrontation with Iran. So let's try and get a perspective on what exactly is happening right now on the ground. And joining us to help us understand what happened on Saturday, Israel's ambassador to India, Ambassador Reuven Azar. I appreciate you joining us, sir, this evening on India Today. I want to understand from you, why do you think that this round of strikes by Israel was needed, was necessary against Iran? Because this also means it's an escalation to the war. Why did you think this step was taken, and what are the targets that Israel went after?
Well, good evening, Pooja, and thank you for this opportunity. We had not only the right, but also the duty to retaliate against this aggression of Iran, because Iran, as you know, has fired at Israel a barrage of 200 ballistic missiles in the biggest ballistic missile barrage in history of warfare. And this is coming after decades of Iran's support for terror, after Iran has been arming terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and other militias, terrorist militias in the region with weapons of mass destruction, with financial assistance. So we had to send a clear message to the Iranians that they are vulnerable. They can be held accountable. And what we did is we did a very precise military strike that, first of all, took out their air defenses.
Yes.
They have S-300, that was eliminated. And we also hit their missile capability, factories of missiles and drones. And what we have shown with these strikes is that Iran is completely exposed. And if they choose to continue escalating, we could hit Iran much harder. We actually restrained ourselves from hitting Iran hard. There is even some domestic criticism about it. But we are determined to send the signal to Iran that they have to change their course, and that we don't want further escalation.
Ambassador Azar, now Iran has said with the foreign ministry statement that has come that we will weaken and humiliate our enemies of Iran. So my question is, do you think that Israel is prepared to fight a war directly with another nation, with Iran? Because there's already been over a year at least, apart from, of course, the conflict that's been on for decades, but this 1 year has already been like a war situation. Do you think Israel is prepared, if required, to go ahead with this war with Iran?
The answer is yes.
And do you want to elaborate on that? Why do you think that Israel feels that, if required, it is prepared to go ahead with that step?
Because we don't have any choice, Pooja, because we are attacked in a completely unprovoked way, both on the 7th of October, the most atrocious massacre that we've seen since the Holocaust, because Iran has been determined for the last decades to fuel this machinery of terror against Israel. So rest assured that the Israeli cabinet will not risk our citizens by starting something that we cannot sustain. We are fully coordinated with our American friends.
Okay.
We are seeing messages of support from different countries, including the UK and others, because they have seen that Israel is actually acting very responsibly when it comes to using our right for self-defense.
Let's talk about this support from the Western world as well. USA has said that while it expects restraint from both sides, but its support is clear for Israel. Do you think that, what kind of support do you think that means for Israel at a time like this? Because it may not be directly involved, but it does say that it's going to defend with all its might. What do you think that means? Do you think it's an election rhetoric right now with regard to USA, or that USA is going to stand like an ally with Israel?
Well, I think people are attaching too much importance to American elections. What is happening on the ground is very clear. The U.S. administration in the last 2 weeks has been delivering to Israel additional systems for self-defense, the THAAD missiles that are going to be another layer in the missile defense system that Israel has, one of the best in the world. So it's not that we are not concerned. We are worried. We don't want this escalation. We didn't ask for this war. But we have the resolve to show the aggressors that they have to change course. And if they don't change course, they will pay a price.
Ambassador Azar, let's talk about the Iranian view. I was speaking to a research analyst just about a short while ago, and based in Tehran, to which they have to say is that Israel targeted the generals or the Hamas leaders in Iran, in Tehran, and therefore Iran has been forced to strike what we saw, the barrage of missiles toward Israel. So what would, as an ambassador from Israel, would you want to say to that?
Well, that we will continue doing that. That if they continue harboring terrorists, terrorists are not going to be safe anywhere, especially not in Iran. And that we are capable of not only hitting terrorists like Hania, we are also capable of inflicting much more damage to the Iranians if they choose to continue their campaign of aggression against Israel. So it's not that we are provoking Iran. Iran has been provoking us for the last 30 years. So we have here to put things in proportion. And the Iranians will have to understand that they no longer enjoy a situation in which they can fuel this terrorist army against Israel that is starting aggression against Israel every now and then, and they will be sitting back and relaxing. This is not going to happen anymore. There are no free meals anymore for the Iranian regime. They will have to change course or pay the price.
Just a few more questions, Ambassador Azar. The world is watching, listening to what is unfolding on the ground. It's been, of course, a certain polarized discussion over this issue. To anyone watching you, not from Israel, not from West Asia, not from Iran, what would you want to say to them about your perspective right now?
Well, our message is very clear. Israel is a democracy, is a peace-loving nation. Israel has proved that is willing to risk a lot to make peace with our neighbors. We have made peace with Egypt, with Jordan. We have made the Abraham Accords with the UAE, with Bahrain, with Morocco and Sudan. We are willing to continue this path. We have partners in the Arab world that actually are cooperating as we speak on issues of intelligence and security. And we are sure that once this war is over, we will be able to join hands with our neighbors and partners from outside the area, like India, to create a corridor of stability and prosperity in West Asia that connects Asia and Europe.
Let's talk about the humanitarian aspect of it, because I remember Prime Minister Netanyahu had put out a video appealing to the people of Iran to come join this specific war. But how will Israel ensure, and is it ensuring, can you tell us and confirm to us, to ensure that the targets are precise and are aiming either at terror targets or military, as you say, and that the civilians, innocent people of Iran or otherwise, will not be attacked or will not be hurt right now with the strikes that are taking place?
Well, we have seen the results. The results have no civilian casualties involved. Israel does not go after civilians. The only reason that civilians have been hit during this terrible and tragic war we had in last year is because Hamas was using them as human shields, exactly like Hezbollah does. So as long as the Iranians don't use their civilians as human shields, I don't think the civilians have to be concerned.
What happens when, as Israel says, Hamas leadership wiped out, so is Hezbollah? What happens then, do you think, to Gaza? Because I also cannot help but think, and I'm sure it's on everyone's mind in Israel, eventually it's about the release of hostages. I still think of the Bibas family, other young women, children, women, men. And eventually, while the war is on, that's one perspective of it. What happens to the hostages? What is being done? Because time's also running out on that. And to people in Gaza as well. Because if Hamas, their government, so to say, has wiped off, what happens then to the people of Gaza?
Right. This is a very tragic situation, and this can stop tomorrow if Hamas lays down the weapons and release the hostages. So we are not looking for continuation of this war, but we have the resolve to make sure that our targets are completed, that we can be rest assured that Hamas will not rearm and regroup, and that our hostages are back. If we achieve that, then everybody will stop suffering. In the meantime, we are investing a lot of effort in facilitating humanitarian aid to the Palestinian population. But we have to do it in parallel with continuation of military pressure on Hamas, because Hamas wants to continue hijacking the population of the Gaza Strip, exactly like the Iranian regime is hijacking the population of Iran and enslaving it to serve this fanatical theocratic ideology they have. That's very unfortunate. We hope that one day this will change, but in the meantime, we have to defend ourselves.
And so my final question is that what do you think is the mood and the sentiment among Israelis? It's been over a year of a direct confrontation, strikes back and forth. Even in Tel Aviv and other cities, there are strikes that are heard. So what do you think is the mood on the ground? What are people saying? Is there a certain resolve? Why do you think that resolve is there? And a general assessment, if you can help us understand the mood is like in the country.
Yeah, well, although there is a lot of anxiety and a lot of anger, and a lot of longing for the release of the hostages, there's also a lot of resolve. You know, we have an army of the people. Many young men and women are serving in the reserve army for months now, and they have, they have detached themselves from their day-to-day life. They are longing to go back to the daily life, but they are not going to do that before we achieve our goals, because there is consensus in Israel that we don't have any choice but to defend ourselves and to create a situation in which, when a ceasefire comes, it will be in conditions that will secure a long-term stability in our region.
And do you see there is an escalation that could continue for months, possibly years, sir?
Well, that is completely up to the Iranians to decide. If they want to go down to the path of escalation, we are prepared, and we will increase our military activity against them, and they will pay a much more expanded and dear price. So, what we want them to do is to reconsider their aggression, their way of acting, and we hope they will go back to their senses, if they have senses, and serve their people instead of being concentrated to destroy our people.
All right. I appreciate you joining us, Ambassador Reuven Azar, Israeli Ambassador to India, for your views and taking all questions. Thank you very much, sir. And we wish for peace and stability in Israel and throughout the West Asia region.
We wish peace as well. Thank you, Pooja.